Hi, I'm Emily, and welcome to Chair Yoga. Go ahead and find your chair without any sides, preferably a little pillow for a little bit of extra padding. If you're going to stay seated for most of practice, go ahead and grab a stool, an ottoman, a low table. You could have that out in front of you. I'll leave mine to the side for now. And if you can, set up your chair so that we're face to face. And find a comfortable seat. I'll turn to the side for a moment. Ideally, you want your ankles pretty much on top or underneath your knees. Knees stacked over ankles, the whole foot able to sit on the ground, so scoot forward in your chair. And then you want to take as much rounding out of the low back as you can. So you want to sit up nice and tall. There'll be a little tilt of the pelvis, find your natural curve in the low back, and the shoulders stacking over the hips, and then the head stacking over shoulders. So find your comfortable seat. I'm going to sit up right on the edge of my chair, planting your feet down, and it might be a nice time to close the eyes. Maybe you just soften the gaze and take the gaze into your lap, a little bit out in front of you. And go through that checklist again. So feet on the ground, you might wiggle them, lift the toes up. Make sure they're firmly planted. They're helping you to stand up or sit up tall. The knees stacked over the ankles. The knees about hips distance apart, maybe a little closer or wider. Your seat is supported on the chair. The weight is even side to side. You might rock a little side to side to notice. Your natural curve in the low back. There's a little engagement of the low belly, a little spread across the front of the belly as you lift the shoulders up, lift the ribs up away from the hips. Give the shoulders a little roll, softening them, making sure they're relatively even side to side. A little spread across the front of the collarbones, hands resting in the lap wherever is comfortable for you. The spot where the neck and skull meet right at the ridge, can you press it very lightly back a little bit up to find a little more length in the back of the neck? For a moment, notice your breath. You might take a little sigh, maybe a big one. And from where you're pressing the feet into the ground, the seat into the chair, can you sit up a little bit taller? With your inhale, find more height. And exhale, keep that height. And you soften the shoulders away from ears. Breathing in, expanding. Breathing out, releasing. Breathing in. Breathing out. You are right here, right now, in this seat. And notice the temperature and texture under the feet, the solidity of the ground. Notice the feeling of the chair beneath your seat. Notice the legs or lap where the hands are resting. Really bring your attention to where there's contact, maybe lightly pressing down, or even a little movement up and down. And then we'll start to move. So you might keep the eyes closed or the gaze really soft. As you inhale, take the arms out to the side, reach hands up overhead. Exhale, bring the hands down through the midline of the body, the palms connected. Do that a couple of times. Inhale, scooping out to the side, reaching up, gaze might go up, a little mini back bend. Exhale, hands come down through heart center. Inhale, reaching up. Press into the feet. Get a little taller. Fingers reach. Exhale. Hands back down. Nice. One more time, just like that. Inhale, reaching up. Exhale, hands coming down. This time, hands come to the thighs and start to fold over the legs. Any amount. You could pause right here. You could pause with the forearms on the thighs. Maybe you start to round in a little bit more, the hands reaching down the front of the shins, maybe all the way down to the ground. It might be okay for you to let the chin fall into the chest wherever you are. Could be nice to rock a little bit side to side, a little massage for the low back, a little bit of a roll of the neck, the ear to one shoulder than the other. You could also be still in the shape, for sure. Well, 2 more long breaths here. If the hands are reaching down towards the ground, bring them back up onto the legs, the palms right on the thighs. Inhale, lift the heart a little bit forward. Squeeze the shoulder blades on the back. We're going to stay here for another moment. I'll show you what this looks like from the side. I'm about halfway up, away from my thighs. I'm squeezing the shoulder blades on the back. I'm pressing the heart away from the hips. Nice. And then a little rounding, folding back in. And then inhale, press into the hands, press in the feet, sit all the way up tall. And pause for your exhale. We'll do a couple half sun salutations seated. You're always welcome to stand up. Inhale, arms reach up overhead. Exhale, hands to the legs, folding over, a little rounding. Inhale, press into the legs, lift up halfway, shoulders squeeze. The gaze might go a little bit forward in front of the feet. Exhale, round back in. Inhale, press into the feet, sit all the way upright. And exhale, soften into your seated mountain pose. Inhale, arms sweep up. Exhale, hands to the legs, rounding in. Really long breaths, a little sound maybe. Inhale, lifting up halfway. Exhale, rounding in. Inhale, press into legs, feet, sit up tall. Might even bring the shoulders up to the ears. Exhale, then down the back. Inhale, sweep up. Exhale, fold over the legs. Could always have a little sigh out of the mouth. Inhale, lifting up halfway, squeezing shoulder blades. Exhale, rounding in. Let the neck be long, the chin into chest. Inhale, lifting up halfway, shoulders squeeze up towards the ears. Exhale, shoulders back down. Nice. And go ahead and take the hands out the same height as your shoulder. And all you're going to do, the palms facing each other, start to wiggle the fingers. Wiggling the fingers might feel a little bit weird, but maybe you start to feel some sensation up into the elbows. We're just getting a little bit of movement, a little bit of circulation going in the fingers and the forearms. Nice. And then you can continue that wiggle of the fingers and go ahead and reach the fingers out as far as you can. As you do that, the shoulder blades are wrapping around the sides of the ribs. You're starting to protract the shoulder out of the shoulder socket. So reach really far forward. You're still sitting up nice and tall. And then retract. So you're squeezing the shoulder blades together. It's like you're trying to pinch something behind you, like a little pencil or something. Really squeezing in. And the elbows are even hugging in a little bit towards each other, still wiggling the fingers. Nice, and then reach the fingers out in front of you, protracting. And then retract the shoulders back deep into the socket. Nice. Another time like that. Reaching fingers out, really spread the shoulder blades. They're wrapping around the front of the ribs a little. And then exhale, pulling them back in. A little bit of work here. Nice. Go ahead and let the hands come into the lap. And you're going to pick up one leg. You could have the hands on the seat of the chair, reaching back behind you. You're going to kick one heel out in front of you. Point the toes, flex the toes, point. There's a little bit of cork to keep the leg lifted. You could always have the ottoman or something out in front of you, pointing and flexing. And turn the toes out to the side. roll them in towards the midline, and you're trying to roll all the way up and into the hip socket here. So you can help that with one of your hands. And then just give it a nice big roll of the ankle, one direction, then the other. We're getting movement and mobility in the extremities today, fingers, toes, ankles, wrists, and into the forearms and calves. Go ahead and put that foot down. Lift up your other foot, kicking out, sitting up nice and tall. There you go. Flex the toes in towards the kneecap. Point the toes out and away. Point and flex a couple of times. Foot flexed, turn the toes out to the side, the whole leg moving up and into the hip socket. Toes in towards the midline. Any amount's great. Toes out to the side. Back into the middle. Nice, and a big roll of the ankle one direction, and then the other. Nice. Go ahead and place that foot down. Go ahead and turn over towards your right, and for our low lunge shape. So the right ankle underneath the right knee off of the right side. The left foot starting to sneak back behind you, and so the left thigh and seat are on the support. You can have the hands on the chair any way that helps to support you. Trying to get the left heel right over the ball of the foot. You're kicking back through the heel, really finding a nice stretch in the left thigh, the left hip. Trying to turn the chest and the ribs a little bit more off to the right side of your chair. You could stay right here. Maybe you reach the arms up overhead. Just trying to reach the arms up a little bit. You're protracting a little bit here. It's a little bit of a different feel. The fingers up to the sky while keeping the top of the shoulder away from the ears. So there's this reach up. Nice. You could also be experimenting here if you want to start to hover the right thigh off of the chair. Nice. And for those who want a little bit more, after you've hovered the thigh off the chair, or you could also do this with the thigh on the chair, maybe you start to lift the right heel off the ground. That'll get some strength building in the ankle, all the way up the leg. Nice. You can always come down. We'll find our way back to the seat of the chair, hands coming down to the hips, and we spin to go the other direction. So now facing off the left side of the chair, the left ankle underneath the left knee, letting the right foot come back along behind you, heel over ball of the foot, any amount bend of the knee. Maybe some people are starting to, straighten the leg. Turning the chest over towards the side. You can reach the arms up and overhead when you're ready. Great. Couple breaths here. Nice. Maybe you're starting to hover the thigh off the chair. Maybe you're starting to hover the heel off of the ground. So both heels are lifted. There's definitely a balancing component if you're lifting the thigh off of the seat of the chair. Another big breath here. Nice. Go ahead and let the thigh come back down if it was lifted. Hands coming back down to the seat of the chair. Turning back towards center. Great. We're going to make our way up to standing. You could stay seated for the entire practice. I'll try to give you options for each thing that we're making, which shape that we're making. Go ahead and come up to your chair. I'm going to turn my chair so that you can see. You're just stepping back behind the chair with the hands on the back high part. And you're starting to walk the hips out so the torso is coming more parallel. This is our halfway lift here, our like down dog-esque shape. The hands are pressing into the chair. You're starting to let your chest fall down through the arms. And you're pressing a little more weight into the heels, so you're reaching the fingers away from the hips. Maybe you press the seat out a little further away from you. If you're doing this in the chair, you could be reaching the arms out long in front of you. Maybe you have the legs kicked up on the support. Could be doing that forward fold shape again, because we're going to head that direction in a moment. You can either stay right here, you could start to walk the hands down the seat of the chair, the back, all the way down to the ground, our forward fold here, and you can have some really nice distance between the feet, maybe even hips distance or even wider. Some people will want to hold opposite elbows. shake and roll our head around here. And again, seated, could be doing this with legs out long in front of you. Maybe you're taking a fold over long legs now instead of bent legs like before. Couple more breaths here, using your long exhalations to let the head be really heavy, the chest soft. And there's still a little bit of that action of protracting the shoulders here. So you're trying to reach the fingers out and away so the shoulders are pulling a little bit. The shoulder blades are wrapping a little bit down the sides of the rib cage. Nice. But you're keeping the shoulders away from the ears. If the fingers were down towards the ground, start to walk them back up so they're on the back of the chair. Start to press into the feet, press into the hands, come all the way up to standing. We'll do 2 rounds of the half sun salutation standing. Could be doing this seated with the feet on the ottoman, the legs straight. Inhale, reaching up. And exhale, hands to the seat of the chair, folding over, or the back of the chair. Maybe they come down to the seat. Maybe you just drop the chest down a little further in between the arms. And then inhale, bring the chest up halfway. And exhale, go a little bit more into your fold. The head's heavy. Inhale, press into the feet, walking the hands up the chair to bring the arms all the way up overhead. Exhale, arms by the sides. We'll do once more just like that. Inhale, sweeping the arms out to the sides. Exhale, folding over the chair, letting the head be heavy for a moment. Maybe walking the hands down. Hands could slide up legs or back onto the seat of the chair as you lift up halfway. Exhale, folding back in. Inhale, pressing into the feet, pressing into the hands. Arms reach up overhead. Exhale the arms by the sides. Great. And so you can do these next shapes with the forearms on the back of the chair. Maybe you add a pillow. You could do this with the forearms on the seat of the chair. If you have a little bit more space, the knees could be bent. All you're going to do is you're going to tuck your tail and then inhale, sit the sit bones back. So you're getting a little bit more length in the legs. I'll show you from up here. So you exhale, you're rounding the low back, you're tucking your tail in between the legs. And then inhale, opening up. And the heart can open a little bit. It's like a round of cat and cow, but really focusing on the pelvis. And if you're doing this seated, that's great too. You're doing this with the hands on the legs and tilting and tucking the tail here. So it's exhale, you tuck. Inhale, you sit back. It's like your booty's sitting back in space. You're doing this at home, right? So you can make the shape whatever you want. Here in forearms, the knees bent. Couple more rounds. Inhale, opening up. And exhale, tucking in. There's an engagement of the low belly here. There's some work. Inhale. There's a nice stretch. Sit bones right here are sitting wide to either side. And exhale, curl in. You can let the head drop. Nice. One more round. Inhale. Exhale. Pause in the middle and bring your hands to either the seat of the chair. Coming up on fingertips, I'm going to move my pillow out of the way. Coming up on fingertips if you're on the seat of the chair. And you're going to do that protraction and retraction of the shoulders here. And here the movement's up and in the chest, in the shoulder blades. So it's an inhale, the chest is dropping down in between the arms. You're retracting the shoulders. Exhale, you're pressing into the seat. And we're calling the fingertips to get a little strengthening of the fingers. Exhale, rounding and really puffing up the space between the shoulder blades. So inhale, dropping the chest. Exhale, rounding between the shoulder blades. And you could be doing this here with maybe a little bit of distance from the seat of the chair. Inhale, chest is coming forward towards the seat or the back. Exhale, puffing, sliding the shoulder blades. It's very similar to when you were seated. If you were seated, you could be doing this just like we did before. Maybe you find even a table height something to place the hands on, just like we're doing here at the seat of the chair. Okay, exhale. One more inhale. This is work. You determine how much you want to squeeze the shoulder blades together and then press away. Nice. And soften that. Come all the way back up to standing or all the way seated upright. Coming to standing, take a moment and find a mountain pose shape or find your feet on the ground if you're seated. And you can do this seated too, rocking a little bit of a weight, lifting the heels a little bit, lifting the toes a little bit, rock a little forward and back. Really spread the toes wide and then put the toes down. See how much you could do. Shift the weight a little bit from left to right. Nice. And then take one foot out in front of the other. Take your left foot out a little bit further. You're lifting the heel. Start to lift the heel quite a lot, spreading the toes, and then start to shift a little bit more weight into your left foot. And then once you lifted the weight, you have your high heel on. Hopefully you're not having to wear this much these days, which is great. It's a silver lining. You can rock a little weight into the toe, pinky side of the foot, the big toe side. You're getting a stretch in the toes, a stretch in the ankle here. A little balanced component, so you can always have a hand on the back of the chair. Let your heel come back down, shift your weight into your right foot. Definitely might want some support of the chair as you take the toenail side of the foot, the top of the foot, to the ground a little bit behind your right foot. And then start to put a little bit of pressure, maybe some things are popping and cracking here, a little bit of pressure into the top of the foot, the toes, and then you roll from side to side here. And you're getting a stretch in the top of the foot, the top front side of the ankle, certainly into the toes. And you do this gently, especially if you're on a harder floor. Being really sensitive to what you're feeling. Okay, and you're doing this if you're seated the same way. Shifting a little bit weight forward by bringing the shoulders a little forward. Shift a little bit more weight into your right foot. So you can bring the left foot back down to the ground. Maybe you move to the other side of the chair or readjust if you want the support of a hand on the chair. Go ahead and pick up your right foot, step it a little forward, put your high heel on. Ooh, maybe there's already a crack just by that movement. And then you start to shift the weight from the pinky side to the big toe side. You notice if there's any difference between the two feet. We often stand not symmetrically, with one foot in front of the other or one foot at a different ankle than the other foot. I would invite you to take a look at that and see if you notice that happening for you during the day. Maybe there's a little bit more weight in one foot or the other. Go ahead and shift more weight into the left foot, come onto the top side of the right foot. Because any of those asymmetries of our natural standing patterns can have an effect on the muscles all the way up and into the hip and the low back, and vice versa. So if you start to pay attention and you start to modify how you're standing to stand a little bit more even, it might have a positive effect on your posture and how the body's feeling. It might relieve some hip and low back pain. Okay. Rolling on the top of the foot. I know that's true for me. That's why I share that. Okay. Go ahead and shift more weight into the right foot. Bring the left foot back down on the ground. Okay. Stand to face. You're probably mirroring me and you're probably on the left side of your seat. So stand to face the left side of the seat if that's what you're going to be using. And bring your left foot towards the seat. Kick your right foot a little bit further back. It's only about a foot or so back behind you, and I'll show a variation seated in a moment. You could have your hands on the seat, the back of the chair. Can't get my seats and backs right today. The back of the chair, if you want a little bit more height, but you might bring your hands down to the seat of the chair, tented up on fingertips again. And once you're here, both legs are nice and long. Both sets of toes are pointing towards the seat. The back toes will be angled a little bit out towards the side. And your tendency will be for your left hip to be up towards the seat of the chair. Can you maybe even take your hand and draw it back just a little bit? So you're having a little bit more evenness across the pelvis. And then from here, this could be like very intense. You're already feeling this a lot in the back of the left leg. Maybe you want a little bit more and you bring the forearms down to the seat of the chair. And the head be heavy. Maybe you go even lower than that and take the chair out of the equation so you're reaching the hands down toward the ground or on the leg. You can be doing this variation seated, and you're trying to fold over the leg wherever you are. As I talk through a seated variation, you could have one leg up on the support here and be folding over that leg. And wherever you are, you could experiment, if it's okay, to shift a little bit of the weight on the front foot a little bit left and right. So seated here, that might be looking like the toes coming in and out, just like we did as one of the first seated stretches. Here in the standing shape, it might look like lifting the big toe off of the ground, rolling onto the pinky side, shifting the pelvis a little bit, and then rolling onto the big toe side. It's not required to add this rolling action. It'll just change the stretch in the back of the leg, in the ankle. And you might find a spot where you want to hang out for a second. For me, that's on the pinky side of my foot, lifting the big toe side. That gets nice into this outer part of my calf, all the way up a little bit more into my kind of IT band, and into my hip. Wherever you are, take a couple more long, deep breaths. If the left foot wasn't planted firmly on the ground, bring it back down to be planted firmly. Walk the fingers up so you're on the palm of the hand if you were down on the forearms. And you're going to scoot your right foot even further back. We're coming into our warrior one type shape here. You could be a little bit more upright with the hands on the hips, the hands on the seat of the chair. The feet are a little bit further apart from each other. There might be a little bit of width distance between them too, so you might walk the right foot a little bit more over towards your right. You might, you start to bend the knee pretty deeply. Some people, the knee will even like touch the chair. You start to turn the chest a little bit more towards the chair. And then if it's okay, you're having the hands on the chair, seat, maybe even walking them out further away. And then you're pressing really firmly back through the right foot. You're pressing through the right heel. And it's like the knees are trying to stretch apart from each other. So lift the right knee, reach it back. And the more you press into the right heel, the more stretch you're going to get in the back of the right calf. There's certainly a little bit of work in the left leg, bent knee here. Some people will find like a humble warrior one type shape by bringing the forearms down on the seat of the chair, letting the chin fall into the chest. Couple breaths here. This is a little bit harder shape to take seated. Warrior one doesn't quite work, but you could turn on your side just like we did when we were doing the lunge, but instead trying to seal the back foot, the right foot down on the ground a little bit more. So you could be here in your warrior one seated variation. The chest coming over the left leg. Okay, one more long breath. Coming back up to the hands, if you were on the forearms, hands to the hips. Press into the left foot, come all the way up to standing. You can use the chair as you step the right foot in. And we're just going to do that on the other side. You can stay right where you are. Doesn't matter which side of the chair you're on for these shapes. We start with that shorter stance, so maybe about like 1.5 feet. The back toes pointed up a little bit, but angled out just a little bit too. You turn to face the seat of the chair. Both legs are long. And you might bring your hands to the back of the chair, to the seat of the chair. To the back of the chair, I mean like this. I hope that's clear. Maybe to the seat of the chair, starting to fold over the legs. And again, check in. You might even take your left hand and right hand and very gently encourage the right hip a little bit further back. A little evenness across the pelvis. You might even check to see if it feels like the hips are even. You can start to take the forearms down, holding the head. If you're doing this seated, one foot is on your stool or ottoman. That leg is long. And then anyone standing or seated could start to roll onto the pinky side or the big toe side. Rocking and pausing maybe in one shape. Great. 3 more breaths here. A little soft bend into the right knee. Hands come back to the seat of the chair. We're making our way back upright, torso's upright. Step the left foot a little bit further back behind you, maybe a little bit over towards the left side. Start to bend into the right knee. You're sealing the whole left foot on the ground if that's okay for you. You're turning on your chair, just like you did in the low lunge if you're seated. Starting to bend the knee, the chest coming a little bit more to face the chair, and staying upright, maybe hands to the back of the chair, to the seat of the chair, maybe the forearms folding over the leg. But most importantly, see if you can press a little bit into the left leg. Really lift the left knee up. Press into the left outer heel, the pinky toe. Lift your left arch. And maybe bend your right knee a little deeper. Maybe you find that nice stretch in the back of the left calf. 5 long breaths here. Maybe you let the back of the neck get a little longer. Even if you're upright, just that little release in the back of the neck can be nice. You might be making a little audible breath. That soothing sound in the back of the throat can do what I said. It soothes, and it can also help you focus. To be right here. If you're on the forearms, walking back up to the hands, pressing into the right foot, coming all the way to stand upright. Nice. And we're going to do one more thing standing. You could do this on the back of the chair. If you're coming on the back of the chair, depending on the shape of your chair, you might want to have your forearms or a pillow underneath your forearms. You could be also doing this on the seat of the chair. We're going to find what's called like a dolphin shape. So it's very similar. You're going to have the forearms on something and the palms turned down. And on the seat of the chair, the palms will be pressing into the chair and your feet will be about hips distance apart. And depending on your flexibility, the knees could be bent, maybe the legs are straight. And then just like we've done several times, you're gonna let the chest fall down. You're gonna feel what that feels like. And then you're gonna really press the forearms and the hands into the chair. And the forearms are parallel. They're about shoulders distance apart. You're gonna start to press in so you're protracting the shoulders. And you can drop the head a little bit, look back towards your feet. And you're gonna stay with that protraction. This is your dolphin shape. Maybe you start to press into the feet to lift the hips a little bit more, to lengthen the legs. And you're really pressing firmly into the forearms, even if you're on the back of the chair. Even if it's just like that one point of contact, the palms are still facing down. You're threading through the fingers. You're really reaching the shoulder blades forward This is quite a lot of work here. I'm really engaged. Nice. I'm really spreading through my fingers. Seated, you could be doing this with even just the elbows up at the same height as the shoulders and the forearms out in front, the fingertips pointing up to the sky, really pressing the shoulders away. Maybe you find something to lean over. You could even do this here. It's a little bit funny on your lap with a pillow on top could work. Make up a variation for you for another 2 breaths. One more. And then soften the shoulders. Let the chest come down. Press into the hands. Come all the way up to stand. We are going to do one more thing standing, but it'll be kind of nice. You're going to take a pillow, probably if you have one, to the back of your chair. It's just a little bit of cushioning. And take one forearm, the palm facing up now, onto that support. And you can have it kind of across so that it feels stable. And this should be like a really nice height for you to then take the opposite arm, the elbow, bring it up to the inside of the elbow that's on the chair, and start to make little circles, giving yourself a little massage. And you're going to start to work down the arm towards the wrist. And you can be doing this with a pillow in your lap, seated. The pillow to give a little bit more height. And as you start to work your way in towards the wrist, you might notice some funny things happen. If you hit like the right spot, your fingers will start to curl in involuntarily. Okay, just slide the forearm that's doing the massaging up towards the elbows, down to the wrist, up. And then flip the palm that's being massaged down towards the ground. And you're going to do that again, just now getting on the top of the forearm. And you might be wondering why in the world we're doing slow massage during yoga. But sometimes you need a little support from the outside externally in order to help release, to help connect, and slide the forearm up and down the leg, the arm, the forearm. We'll get to the legs. We're going to do the calves and the toes here and a little bit in the feet. Bring your opposite forearm, the palm facing up. Take your elbow up into the elbow crease. Start to work your way down to the wrist. And you could be just going through the motions here, or you could be really giving yourself a really nice, kind, loving touch. Make it what you want. Rub up towards the elbow crease, back down, forearm to forearm. And then carefully flip the forearm that's being massaged, palm facing down. Do that again, little circles from towards the elbow, down towards the wrist. Do that spread, rubbing up and down. And then we're going to make our way down to sit. So making your way down to sit. Set up. Make sure you're stacking your shoulders over your hips. You're not rounding in. You're lifting your low back, just like we did when we were seated. The ankles underneath the knees, knees about hips distance apart. And you can use some support on the chair as you start to lift your right knee. Give it a nice hug, squeeze in. Pulse it up and down. Make a little circle of the knee, one direction, getting some rotation up into the hip joint, the other direction. Many of you know where we're going. We're going to find our figure 4 shape. So you can start to cross the ankle over the thigh. So you have a little figure 4. The toes are pulling into the kneecap. You can start by just giving yourself a little light massage here on the top of the right thigh. You can adjust yourself a little amount. And you're trying to lift your belly button towards your lap. So you get a little bit more arch in the back. And some people will start to bend over the legs a little bit. Some people will bend over the legs a lot of bit. Take a couple of breaths here to fold in, to let the head be heavy. Some people like to rock a little side to side, feeling that nice stretch in the outside of the right hip, the low back. And you can stay folded in any amount. Maybe you come up under the forearms. And you're just gonna start to take one of your hands and just give the calf a nice little squeeze. All the way from up towards the knee, coming down. And there's usually like a nice tender-ish spot right on the back. Look around for it. Could be getting both hands involved, still getting a little bit of that fold and opening across the hip. And you might take the back of your knuckles and just get into the foot a little bit. Find some sweet spots there. And I'm kind of bracing myself with my right forearm on top of the right leg. I do the massaging mostly with the left hand. Curl the toes in, maybe get some pops, pull them, anything that feels nice here. You can also use the hand to help maneuver the foot into some of those pointed and turned shapes. See how those feel here, to roll the ankle. And bring yourself all the way up. Go ahead and hug your right knee into your chest and take it out to the side for a moment, opening up. Pulse up and down here. This is like a little one-legged frog shape. And then the foot comes back down to the ground. We'll lift the left knee up. Give it a couple pulses up into the chest. Sitting up nice and tall still. Make a couple circles in one direction. Then the other. Hugging in, give the ankle a little roll quickly, and then the ankle across the thigh. You can always add some padding underneath the ankle. Start by giving that nice little massage on the top of the thigh, maybe a little bit on the outside. And then we'll start to lift the belly towards the legs, open the chest a little bit, open the shoulders, and then fold over the legs, any amount. Could be here with the hands resting in the lap, forearms, maybe arms draping over the legs. 3 breaths here. You can rock, roll the neck. Get some more neck rolls here before we end. And any amount of the fold that you want to keep as you start to just give yourself a little bit of a massage, maybe letting the left forearm rest on the left leg, a little bracing as you massage with the right thumb into the back of the calf, down towards the ankle. And then the knuckles into the bottom of the foot or the thumb, whatever works for you. Curl the toes in, pull them out, pull them back towards the ankle, and then also out and away from the root of the toes. Can help to roll the ankle, turn it a little side to side. And then when you're ready, pressing the hands into the lap, sitting all the way up, hugging the knee back into the chest. Take it out to the side, any amount. You can use your right hand on the seat of the chair. Roll the knee, pulse it up and down. Bring the knee back to the center, placing the foot down on the ground. Make sure you're sitting up nice and tall. Take a nice big inhale. Exhale. You could be closing the eyes. I close my eyes in preparation for all this neck work. They could be open. You can peek out, but I'll talk you through. So you might just really let the sound of my voice guide you here. Let the chin drop into the chest. Reaching the top of the head away from the shoulders. Really get a nice stretch in the back of the neck. Shoulders still over the hips. Start to let the right ear fall towards the right shoulder, looking straight out and ahead. So it's really the ear to the shoulder here. Getting a nice deep stretch in the left side of the neck. Could stay right here. You could reach the left fingertips out and away from you. They're reaching down towards the ground, out to the side, and kind of at a 45-degree angle from the body. Take a couple of breaths there. Some people will want to add the right hand on top of the head, a little extra weight, but not too much pulling. Really notice where you're feeling the stretch in the neck, in the shoulder, even maybe down into the fingertips. Maybe wiggle the fingers just a little like we did at the start. Soften the hold of the right hand on the top of the head just for a moment as you turn the gaze down towards the ground, a couple of feet in front of you. So the face is a little bit of an angle down towards the ground. You could place the hand back on the top of the head. It's moving towards the back of the head, but it's on the back side now. The fingers, the left fingers might start to reach a little bit further back towards this wall behind you. And notice where the stretch is. It might have migrated just a little bit to the back. Maybe to a slightly different location down the arm into the forearms and fingers. We'll have another big breath here. Soften the hold of the right hand on top of the head. Turn your gaze right down towards your hips. It's like you're looking at your armpit. Gaze right down. Hand to the back of the head. More fully right on the, might even cup the fingers right on the ridge of the back of the head. You might really reach the left fingers even further back behind you. Notice where you feel the stretch now. Wiggle the fingers. Soften the hold of the right hand coming back into the lap, the left hand coming to the lap as well. Keep the chin in toward the chest, roll the chin over. The left ear is coming towards the left shoulder. Take a moment there, the gaze straight out ahead like you're looking at me. You could open the eyes and maybe smile. Maybe the eyes softly close again as you sink into that nice juicy stretch on the right side of the neck. The right fingers reaching out towards the ground on your side. 45-degree angle of the arm from the body. Maybe the left hand to the top of the head. A little gentle weight. Noticing where you feel the stretch on the right side of the neck, down the arm, maybe into the fingers, maybe wiggle the fingers. Soften the pressure of the left hand as you turn the head slightly down. The gaze is a couple of feet in front of you, down towards the ground. The left hand comes to the back side of the head, a little bit more on the side than on the back. The right fingers start to come a little bit further back towards the wall behind you, really stretching out through the fingers still, noticing where the sensation has migrated. Maybe it's moved a little further into the back of the neck, the shoulder, maybe onto the back side of the forearm. It'll be different for everyone. One more breath here. Soften the left hand. Turn your gaze right down into your seat so the chin's kind of tucking into the collarbone, the hand coming, left hand to the back of the head, little ridge of the skull there. Really reach the fingers back, a little towards the wall behind you in the right hand. Deep breaths here. more into the back of the spine, the back of the shoulder blades. Another big breath. Start to bring the right hand back to the lap, soften the left hand on the top of the head. Keep the chin into the chest. Roll the chin down to the center. Use your hand, one of your hands at least, on the forehead. Just help bring the head all the way upright. Bring the head up to center. The eyes might be closed and notice how the neck feels. We're going to do one more round of neck stretches and rolls. And you might bring a hand or a finger to your chin. This is a little bit of guide. You don't have to do this. I'll turn to the side so that you can see. You can watch for a moment. I'm going to press my chin just slightly forward. I'm not going to jut my neck super crazy forward, but I want a little bit of forward motion so that I keep length in the back of the neck. So this is my cervical spine. I want to keep it long. As I start to tilt it over to the left, a little bit up to the sky, and I'm starting to make this circle. I'm still pushing my chin out and away. What you don't want to do is let the neck and the back of the head rest on the top of the shoulders and really compress the cervical spine. So press the chin out, and you don't have to make a full circle here. You can pause anywhere and then reverse it. And you don't have to have the finger on the front of the chin. There's just a little bit of a guide here. Reaching the neck and the chin out and away. Like you're drawing a circle with the chin on the wall in front of you. Maybe on your TV or computer screen. Make sure you're going in both directions, either alternating one or the other. Now's a good time to switch. A couple more rolls. And these could be bigger, they could be smaller, as long as you're keeping that sensitivity of length in the back of the neck. Nice. Bring the head all the way back upright. Sit up nice and tall. You can close the eyes again here, or soften the gaze down to the ground. Shrug the shoulders up to the ears. Big exhale, let them fall down. Might be an exhalation out of the mouth. Inhale, shoulders up to ears, and exhale, drawing down. Little rolls. Bring the hands interlaced out in front of you. And the forearms might be close together, might not. Just give the wrists a nice roll here in one direction. Then the other. You might take a moment to figure out what that means. Might feel a little different or different sensation. Bring the hands back into the lap. One last organic wiggle of the wrist, wiggle of the fingers. Placing the hands down. Lift the heels off the ground. Put them back down. Onto the pinky side of the feet, the knees will wash out to the sides. And then roll to the big toe side, the knees coming in towards each other. Just a little bit of movement here in the ankles. Make it a little organic, whatever shape and roll feels good for you. And when you're ready, sitting up nice and tall. Pressing the feet firmly into the ground. Notice again the temperature, texture, and solidity of the ground. Is the weight even between the 2 feet? Notice the feel of the chair underneath your seat. Is the weight even? And notice the hands wherever they're resting. Texture, temperature, the firmness. Can you press lightly into them? Maybe even rubbing a little up and down the legs. One last big clearing breath together. This can help to just release some tension, to ground you. Big inhale through the nose. Big breath out of the mouth. Bringing your hands to your heart center, either palms pressed together or one on top of each other. Bow the head slightly, not all the way into the chest. A little bow of gratitude to yourself for making this time to move, to breathe, to connect. Say thank you. I thank you so much for joining and sharing your light, your energy. When you're ready, you can lift the head back upright, slowly open the eyes and let the hands relax. Maybe a little smile for yourself, if there's anyone with you. Maybe a little smile back at me. I'll see you very soon. I'm Emily, and let me know if you need anything. Be well.